Seattle Mariners have been eliminated from postseason contention yet again. Let's talk about it. So there it is, everyone. Another season of failures, and that is the second season in a row in which the Seattle Mariners have missed the playoffs with a team that they should have definitely gone with. Today's video is going to be a little less analytical and more or less just my thoughts, kind of a rant a little bit if you want to call it that, and just some things I've been seeing all over Twitter and just my honest thoughts on all of these things. So with the Royals and Tigers both winning yesterday, the Seattle Mariners have officially been eliminated from playoff contention. And yeah, it hurts. It stings. I mean, there was obviously that little sliver of hope, but nonetheless, we kind of knew they were out of it for a while now. Blowing a 10-game lead usually does not end up very good for that team that blows it, but they definitely still had a chance in the wild card. There's no doubting that, but at the end of the day, they just couldn't keep up, and there were certain games like losing to the Rangers when you were winning 5-0 and honestly not beating the Astros in that second game. That would have put them well in a nice situation going into this series against the A's. But it didn't happen nonetheless, and there was a lot of other errors throughout this year that could have fixed all of this. So there's one real aspect that really bothers me, and I think that one thing that the Mariners will possibly never get again, and that is this pitching staff. And I know the offense has been the main problem, and ever since Edgar has come here, there's no doubt they are a much better team to watch, and they are much better offensively, just looking at the statistics and the categories. But at the end of the day, this is what really bothers me about pitching and in terms of how they just really wasted this pitching staff that was number one in baseball for most of the season. So shout out to Mario for this tweet. I did see Mariner Muse reposted it, and this kind of just puts it into perspective for you. So out of the 5 starting pitchers that the Mariners have, George Kirby went 33 games started, Logan Gilbert went 32, Bryce Miller had 31, Luis Castillo had 30, and Brian Wu had 21. That is 147 games where your best 5 pitchers are out there pitching day in and day out. So the Seattle Mariners starting pitching combined for 147 games started this year in terms of our top best 5 guys. And that is almost unheard of around the league. You have guys that are out for months. You have guys that have, been out for most of the season with arm problems. So this is just something that's unheard of. You're never going to see another pitching staff that can go all these games and be there every single time it's their time to start. And to me, that is just what's most painful about it, is they just have been dominating all year. They've been on that mound every single time their start is up. They've been healthy. They've been through it all. And that's just very, very rare to ever happen. Besides Brian Wu, most of his pitching staff, knock on wood, has been extremely healthy all season. And that is just something honestly unheard of. Like, you don't ever hear that of, a team's top 5 pitches in all their starts in a season, all their this, all their that, and they just go out and shove every single day, and that is something that the Seattle Mariners just completely wasted. They lead the league in quality starts by a landslide. It's not even close. I believe it's like a 20 quality start difference, if not a little less, but either way, a large, large difference. And that is just something, again, might never happen again. And that is something that the Seattle Mariners have completely wasted by having a terrible offense for most of this season. I mean, Luis Castillo has the highest ERA of all 5 of these guys with a 3.64. How many pitching staffs can sit there comfortably and say every single one of their guys sits below a 3.6 ERA or lower? Nobody. They have the best pitching staff in baseball for a reason, and they just absolutely wasted it. So there's one thing that went a little bit viral in the Seattle Mariners world in terms of something that Mike Salk said. He basically the guy from Seattle Sports. He's on the Brock and Salk show, one of the hosts. And he basically sat down with this guy named Jake Wittenberg, and Jake kind of asked him, why do the Seattle Mariners do this every single year? They just missed the playoffs. They take us down to game 155 to 162, and they end up missing it. And basically, Mike sat there and said, it's not the Mariners, it's just baseball. Now, while some of the things he said did make absolute sense, baseball is a long season. It goes up, down, and a lot of teams will sit there. You could see, look at the Orioles, look, they're a playoff team, and they went really down until they finally figured it out at the end. But either way, they were going to make the playoffs because they started off so hot. Nonetheless, baseball is a very up and down sport. It's a long season. It's not a 16-game season like football. It's 162 games. And 17 season for the specifics that are going to pick on me for saying 16. But either way, it is a long season, and it is very up and down. That is probably the only thing in this 2-minute clip that I agreed with him on. But you know what, Mike? You know what's something that's not baseball is the Seattle Mariners were founded in 1977. They have been to the playoffs 5 times. Out of those 47 seasons, they've had a winning season 17 times, and they had a losing season 30 times. In 2022, they officially broke a 21-year drought with having one of the biggest superstars in baseball, Julio Rodriguez, help lead them there. And what did they fail to do? They failed to build around him during that time. They had a legit core of players in Cal Raleigh, J.P. Crawford, and obviously J.P.'s having a down year this year. But I'm going back to after when they got eliminated by the Astros in that playoffs, how they could have continued to push forward. They had the core, they had Cal, J.P., Julio, all these guys they could build around, and they failed to do it. If they had built around them successfully, this team would be good and a playoff team for the next 10 years. Not a single person in that ownership group has sat down in front of a camera, in front of a person, and said, you know what, Mariners fans, we need to be better. And yeah, you could say Jerry DiPoto has, but whatever, that doesn't really prove anything to me. But they have failed to just take accountability in terms of building around the team that they know they have. They have this pitching for a while, they have this offense for a while, but they refuse to bring in and spend the money on other superstars to build around Julio, Cal, JP, all your core of players. So Mike, that is Seattle Mariners. That has nothing to do with baseball. That has to do with the Seattle Mariners failing to be a productive team every single season. And this for the crowd, obviously, that says Julio Rodriguez is very inconsistent, which he is, but he has still put up a 2020 season with having one of the worst seasons of his entire career. The guy has skill. He can be the face of baseball, if not one of the faces of baseball. But look at Juan Soto and Aaron Judge. The Yankees built their team around those two guys, and they are both superstars. Julio does not have somebody that is a superstar around him. Cal Raleigh, awesome player. Luke Raley, awesome player. Victor Robles, awesome player. All these guys are awesome players, but they are not superstars. Julio Rodriguez needs another superstar. They need to go out and spend money on a superstar to have in this lineup, and if they want to go anywhere. But that is kind of just my little rant on where my head is at with the Mariners and where they just continue to fail year in and year out and why they just keep missing the playoffs after breaking that massive drought. They've had two solid teams, but they just aren't doing enough to bring in the offense every single year. But that is my rant for now. We're going to have a lot of offseason content digesting some guys that, they can go after, maybe some of their approach going into next season and how they can really make sure they are a playoff team next year. But otherwise, let me know your guys' thoughts, and I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.